Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 88 of the Falcoholic Live. I am, of course, your host, Kevin Knight, joined tonight by my co-host, Mr. Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way on Twitter. It's the triumphant return of Adnan to the Wednesday shows. So, Adnan, how are you doing this fine evening?
Oh, I'm doing very well. When I left at first and I said, I'll come back on Wednesday in mid-October, that's back when the Falcons were like, I think that was right before the season started. Yeah. We had so much hope. I was over here like, all right, when I come back, we'll probably be something like, I don't know, 4-2 maybe.
Right, yeah.
Maybe even 5-1 with the way that schedule was. Couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
Could not have been any more wrong.
Well, to be fair, we were all wrong. Even the most negative among the Falcoholic staff, I think, had the team at like 9-7. So, it was certainly something that we didn't necessarily see coming, and it's strange because I think we both agree that the talent isn't the only issue. Like, it's not the main issue. It's a schematic thing, and we're going to talk about that tonight. We're also going to talk about some potential personnel changes they could make to probably make things a little bit better on defense, adjusting some of the talent issues there. And then we'll talk about the Cardinals game, obviously, a little bit, and then we'll get to talking about the future, because changes are coming for the Falcons, folks. That is the title of the episode, and there's basically no way around it at this point. I think the Cardinals game has largely sealed Dan Quinn's fate, at least in my opinion.
Titans game should have sealed his fate.
Well, if it wasn't that, it should have been the Houston game, because that was embarrassing. But we'll get to that. Tyler Raines, Kevin, I'm surprised you haven't resorted to the 13% alcohol by volume Bourbon Barrel Imperial Stouts at this point. Yeah, if it was 0-6 right now, then yeah, definitely we'd be there. But I have to be cognizant for like the entire 60 minutes of the show, so I can't be pounded 13% like the whole show. We won't be able to make it through till the end. So, welcome back, all of you in the chat. Solaire, I like your hashtag. The hashtag Fall from Grace for Chase. That's a good one too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That might be the best one we've seen so far, other than Win Just One for Young. But I can't.
We gotta beat the Saints.
Yeah, but that one doesn't work once we beat the Saints. Exactly. So
I don't endorse ever not beating the Saints.
Exactly. And welcome also to Evan Birchfield joining us here just a few minutes after we got started. I did promise you he would be here, and he has arrived. So Evan, how are you doing this evening?
I am here. Good. How you guys doing?
Good. We're just it's just breaking down for the people. We're going to get to the Cardinals game. We're going to get to some other topics like personnel changes and things like that. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad we, have a few days to digest the most recent loss and kind of let our feelings, simmer down a little. Now we get to look forward to the Rams, who somehow got better during the week. So.
Right. Yeah, who somehow, traded a bunch of first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. So that might be, all of a sudden, an exciting turn of events here. So interesting for sure.
Yeah.
I think we all expected the Rams to be better than they were heading into this game, though. So it could be interesting either way. Either way you slice it.
I love the idea of facing a defense that has Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on it.
Fun times.
What a great, this will be fantastic for Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Maybe Wes Schweitzer will block for him.
Yeah, we know Wes Schweitzer is going to end up in the lineup. He's like the Ryan Fitzpatrick of guards. So, whenever he's on your roster, he's going to start at least one game. Like, there's no way around that. So,
fun fact: when we faced the Rams, wait, what happened? I think I echoed for a second.
No, I think we're okay. Yeah.
But when we faced the Rams in the playoff game a few years ago, the last playoff game we won, what a time that was. We had Wes Schweitzer blocking Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald had 10 pressures in the first half against Matt Ryan in that game.
Yeah.
10 pressures is insane. 10 pressures is what some players have after 6 weeks of play.
If you're Vic Beasley, that could be a whole season.
Oh, one for every $1 million he's making.
Yeah, exactly. But
what do you guys think the chances are we break our 3-game streak of no sacks this weekend?
Well, it hasn't seemed to matter how bad the opposing offensive line is, because the Titans gave up 9 sacks the weeks before we played them. The Texans gave up, I think, 4 sacks. They're averaging 4 sacks a game. And then the Cardinals were also averaging a lot of sacks given up. So
this team will never get a sack again.
No.
0%.
I feel like they're like protesting Dan Quinn. Like once he gets fired, they're just going to start piling up the sacks. So it's just a team-wide protest at this point. That's the only logical explanation. Yeah, sackless the rest of the season. At least we got the first 4, so we can't be the first, to go 0 on a season. But the rest of the way, it's coming.
Yeah.
No, but like Grady Jarrett's bound to get a sack at some point because he's gotten close a bunch of times, but the edge pressure has not been there. So Jarrett flushes him out, and then Vic Beasley kind of jogs over to try to finish the sack and can't clean it up, of course. So.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like 3 straight games. How do you not even look into a sack in 3 straight games? Like how many plays is the opposing offense running where you can't even get to the quarterback once?
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing.
No, actually, we did. Vic Beasley did get to him, and he horse-collared him.
Yeah, he double penaltied.
Yeah.
Double penaltied on a single play. So great job, Vic Beasley.
Yeah, that doesn't happen every day.
No. So thanks for your contribution.
And it was like his nameplate or whatever.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's like a new rule this year.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know of. I realized it earlier in the day because obviously we played at 4:00. I was watching the Browns and Seahawks, and they tackled Russell Wilson. I forget who the Browns player was, but tackled Russell Wilson down by his nameplate. It was like a little below his nameplate, I thought. But and at first I was like, what? That's not a horse collar. But then, they said on there, oh, yeah, that's a horse collar this year. So then I was like, oh, well, that's weird. And then, that's why I noticed it later in the day. I'm like, oh, of course the Falcons get bit by it too.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's going to slowly move down to where, like, you can't tackle them from behind at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. That's a difficult spot. I mean, like you just basically have to grab on and hope for the best. And
well, if you're chasing the quarterback, it's like
I
mean, that's the easiest spot to grab them. So it's going to get to where you have to literally be able to bear hug them from behind to take them down or something.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like if Beasley had just like whiffed completely and not grabbed the horse collar, we probably would have been just as mad. So. I guess there was a no-win situation for him there.
Yeah,
so.
But he does that normally.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, that wouldn't have been surprising. Yeah. That would have been, just fulfilling our narratives with regards to Beasley. But, it's not great. But, I know Adon and I kind of talked about this game at great length. And I don't want to dwell too much on it because it is depressing. But, Evan, I did want to get your takeaways from that Cardinals game. And, I know you're very much team Matt Bryant, so I know you're probably in favor of not blaming Bryant for the loss, despite being the visual, obvious candidate to blame. It was clearly not his fault, but I did want to get kind of your takeaways on how that game played out.
It was a very Falcon-like ending. It just felt like when it happened, it took me like a few minutes. Like, wow, that really did happen. Because I saw a stat on like how many extra points he's missed in his career, and it was, or at least with the Falcons. And it's like mind-boggling the odds of that even happening in that moment when you break it down.
I believe he had made 35 straight going into this game, or something like that.
Yeah, and just overall, I think it was like I'll look up the number here in a second, but it's like something astounding. Like it shouldn't have happened, mathematically speaking. But I mean, it's heartbreaking, and it's like you see back-to-back weeks where the offense scores over 30. What was it, 32 last week? And and then usually that's good enough to win you a ball game, and we lost 2 straight because of it. It's heartbreaking, It's the offense. I think for the first time really displayed what we've all wanted to see. Like Devontae Freeman was pretty much the feature back. They didn't mix Ito in too much. He only had like 3 carries or something. And then Austin Hooper, Julio, Calvin Ridley. Those are your 3 top receiving targets. That's how it should be. You shouldn't have like Luke Stalker anywhere near the top or Sanu up there. They're good like where they were used. You want to be able to feature those certain players, and then Matt Ryan just had like an incredible day, but it just feeds more into the the quarterback wins thing should be overlooked because it's like he did all he could do. I mean, his passer rating was almost near perfect. And it sucks, and then another, the other thing you got to look at is how, you know, we've mentioned it on previous shows where it's like you can see it coming, where the opposing quarterback who may not, like, okay, Marcus Mariota against us, I can't remember his exact stats, but he had like 200 plus yards and I think like 2 or 3 touchdowns. And he just got benched for freaking Ryan Tannehill. But he was great against us. And it's like Kyler Murray had a great day. Obviously, you know, like Deshaun Watson, he's good. So, like, he had a great day. But, so, I mean, you got to expect Jared Goff's going to, like, go off against us.
Yeah.
You know, you hate to see that. But, you know, no true font and stuff, you know, that certainly didn't help any. But
no, but, you know, I don't know if it really mattered that much.
Yeah. Any little bit of optimism is pretty much gone at this point. It's just like, I don't know. It's kind of shifting into that. I hate to be like that, but like, oh, I hope we get a good pick because I mean the season. I don't know what the playoff chances are historically at this point, but 1 in 5, I imagine it's like 1%.
It's bad. I'm sure it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a good
like
ratio.
A historic turnaround. And that ain't happening to the Falcons. So.
No. Yeah, and I know someone in the chat mentioned, you know, Quinn's press conference where he talked about taking some plays out and fixing the scheme and that sort of thing. And, like, I guess that sounds good in theory, but, you know, Quinn's been saying they were going to fix it and they got to go back and look at stuff and do make these types of changes, you know, since they started losing. And nothing's changed, so unless they're really going to make a change now that they haven't done previously, you know, that I don't really think that's going to move the needle at all. Like, I think the issues are twofold with the defense. You know, the scheme is part of it. You know, they're playing too passive. They're playing way too far off the receiver. They're just not playing aggressive football, and it's bad. And you know, they have 2 players in particular that probably need to be taken off the field at this point, based on what we've seen the last 4 weeks and longer, but specifically the last couple games. And we'll get to them, but I just don't know that Quinn is capable of making the changes necessary, because I feel like he would have done them already if he could have. But
everything Dan Quinn says sounds good. Yeah,
it sounds right. Yeah.
Dan Quinn does a fantastic job in the press conference, but you know, who cares if you can't do it on the field? You know, we're still rushing 3 players against the Cardinals. We had who was it? Tyler Davison drop into coverage a few times. Felt like I was watching Mike Nolan's defense. And I know you got into it on Twitter about that, Evan, but no, that this is like
amoeba
perplexing. All the amoeba defense.
The amoeba.
You know, couldn't fool anyone except for Peyton Manning somehow. But you know,
somehow it worked.
The smartest player of all time. You know, it fooled him. But football's just weird. But it's unreal how bad this defense is, how anemic this defense is. 0 adjustments, and I mean, Dan Quinn can say whatever he wants. His clock is about to strike midnight in Atlanta unless this team like straight up wins out, and that's not happening.
Yeah, they need to go like 9-1 the rest of the way.
Yeah, 9-1. Yeah. That's very doable.
To make 10-6. Yeah,
we haven't won 9 games the past 2 years. But you know, we're gonna win 9 games in our next 10. Yeah. That definitely.
That's definitely realistic.
Yeah, especially facing off against this division. You know, we faced the Saints twice, we faced the Panthers twice. Oh, can't wait to see what the Saints are going to do to us. We get the Seahawks. Can't wait to see what Russell Wilson does to this defense next week. You know, if Dan Quinn is still here, which he probably will be. Oh, Russell Wilson's the MVP right now.
Yeah.
Like, he is going to tear us apart. We are the get-right game right now. The Rams are struggling, and they are looking on the calendar and saying, thank God.
Oh, thank God, yes.
We get to play the Atlanta Falcons this week. It could not have come in a better week. We're like the bye week for teams with injuries or with, like, who are ailing. Like, it's unbelievable. You want your offense to get into a rhythm, then play the Atlanta Falcons, because we will soft zone you to death. We're going to leave the middle of the field wide open. We're going to leave the nearest defender 40 yards away from the running back. We're going to play a complex zone that nobody else in the NFL plays, that none of our players can play, that none of our players know how to play.
They can't understand it.
Yeah, they can't understand it. But you know, we're gonna be fast and physical out there. You know, fast and physical with those L's week in and week out. And at this point, I don't even mind, because At this point, I wouldn't even mind keeping Dan Quinn all season because that'll help us secure a top 5 pick. I'm absolutely convinced of it because this defense is going to be historic throughout the end of the season. It will be absolutely historic.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the tanking Dolphins, this would be the worst defense in the NFL. And that's not good. That's not good at all. Like a team actively trying their best to lose every week is the only defense.
And we only
worse.
have one more win than them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Chase Young, bring me Chase Young, and that does kind of fall into someone's question, which was, what do we agree that getting a franchise pass rusher is the second most important position on a football team? I mean, I do agree with that. I can't speak for you guys, but I think getting like a blue chip pass rusher, like a star guy at defensive end or outside linebacker.
It seems like a pipe dream because it's not like we've known it. Mm-hmm. I mean, John Abraham's the only one that really comes to mind.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have one. I'll put it that way.
It sure would be, yeah.
We haven't had two at the same time since Chuck Smith and Patrick Kearney. That was, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
I think pass rusher is tied for the second most important position. It's pass rusher and franchise left tackle, and we have the franchise left tackle. It's just that's one of those where it's just hand in hand,
right?
Just because of how important the passing game is. So I don't really put one above the other, but we have the quarterback, we have the franchise left tackle, we're just missing the pass rushers, and then we can start building from there. We have the interior guy, we have the franchise linebacker, we have the franchise tight end, we have 2 franchise wide receivers. When Keanu Neal is healthy, and hopefully he's 100% when he comes back, he's a franchise safety. Desmond Trufant is a very good starting cornerback, but doesn't matter when your scheme is just as bad as it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
that's what's
awful.
going to be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's what's going to be interesting is, we all pretty much agree that Dan Quinn will be gone. The person who is looking at, this off season, it's too early to tell who exactly the vacant, head coaching spots will be. But let's say Miami goes, defeated and they don't win a game and they fire their coach. If it's Miami, Washington, Atlanta, we're obviously the most juiciest choice, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the whole team's already built for you. All you
Yes.
have to do is be competent.
It's miraculous the team isn't even competitive. It's really almost a miracle of bad proportions that it's not a competitive team. And maybe that's a blessing in disguise to get a really high caliber coach in here. Maybe
I mean,
it really
if you
is
are
that,
a good coach, you should be licking your chops looking at this opportunity. They're going to pay you to coach this team that's already pretty much put together for you.
And it'll have a
I
top
think
5 pick.
yeah, I'll have a top 5 pick too. So you could basically walk in and get Chase Young to be, your franchise pass rusher. You can, or you trade it away for a bounty. If you're really picking in that top 3, and you think you can get 2 or 3 first round picks for someone who wants to come up and get Tua or Justin Herbert or the LSU quarterback that I guess has been lighting it up, Burrow, I think is his name. Yeah.
Burrow.
There's looking like there's going to be at least 3 guys now that are, top tier quarterbacks. And if you're in that top 3, I mean, and you're not trying to pick one of them, I mean, that could be a pick worth a bounty.
Kevin, we need to take Jake Fromm. We don't have enough Georgia players.
No, the kicker. The top 5 pick on the kicker.
Jake Fromm in the first, Rodrigo
the one that
Blankenship in the second.
Yes. Hell yeah. Bring me Rodrigo Blankenship.
Kickers in the state.
Yep. But, no, I mean, like you're saying, it is really a almost a special opportunity, one that doesn't come around very often, where basically, all the building blocks of the roster are in place. I mean, there's a few places where you need to get upgrades and you need to shore up things, but it's if you have a top 5 pick in every round and you can this team is one really good draft away from being an elite roster. If you get Chase Young, I still think Tack can be a number 2 pass rusher. I mean, I don't know that. I think everyone's basically playing worse because of what's going on with the team. I feel like that's honestly a thing. As hard as that is to prove, I don't think that Tack is as bad as he initially appears, this season. Because I think everyone's playing poorly because of this scheme. But, you add Chase Young to the mix, who could be, one of the premier players at his position to come out in recent memory. And you add that with Tack, who should be, I think, at least a functional number 2 pass rusher. I think he could be a lot better lined up across from Chase Young instead of Vic Beasley, who offers you nothing. And then you got Grady Jarrett, too. And I think, with those guys, and you got John Kaminsky, who I think they want to make the next Jack Crawford. Jack Crawford's a free agent next year. I think this defensive line is basically like set up to get, one more big piece in there and be competitive. And we also need to evaluate, I think, some of the other players on the roster over the rest of the season, which, maybe we'll see, especially once Quinn leaves. But they shouldn't be this bad. Like, it's kind of remarkable how bad they've managed to be, in spite of how much talent they have. I mean, it's honestly kind of crazy. Like, how did you get it? It's like you had to go out of your way to make it this bad when it shouldn't have been this bad. Like, you had to really try hard to end up where we are today. And it's crazy. I just don't get it. But
the thing that makes me laugh is the fact that we were having this exact same conversation exactly a year ago, where we're like, all right, we have a chance at this like top 5 pick, this top draft pick to add to this roster, and this has a chance to really be an elite roster. And then what happened? We're right back here a year later because of incompetent coaching, and also we screwed it up by winning the last 3 games for no reason.
Yeah.
This
was Brian's redemption for like hitting that kick at the end that cost us Ed Oliver. So this will be the kick that keeps us, in the top 5.
Okay, I know that I get it, and I respect it if you're against tanking, but I'm not ever gonna be here like, all right, we have no chance to like win, we have no chance to like get to the playoffs. I just want to win the rest of these games for pride instead of a high draft pick, because the way that North American sports are made, you don't get punished for losing games, you get rewarded for losing after you're already out.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably still going to end up at like 4-12, but that could very easily still get them a top 5 pick. I mean,
that should get you a top 5. I just hope they don't end up at 6 and 10.
Yeah, that would probably give you, a 5 to 10 in that range.
To me, the worst case scenario is this team ends up like 6 and 10, and then Arthur Blank is like, well, they improved in the second half, so I'll give Quinn another year.
No. I think Quinn was not going to. I think Quinn was getting fired if he didn't make the playoffs this year to begin with. So like,
I think so too.
Yeah, or like we said in the preseason, like if he goes like 9-7 and it was just like really close, and like it was just the NFC was really stacked and it was really tough, and they lost close games to the Rams and Seahawks, and it was tiebreakers and all this BS. Like, maybe you could tell yourself a story where he survives because it was kind of a fluky year. But if he's not even like competitive for the playoffs, there's no chance. So like he's not getting rehired. Like he's gonna get fired one way or another. I think if he doesn't win one of these next 2 games, he's getting fired at the bye week, no question. And he should get fired either way, personally. But you never know with Blank, and maybe Blank's like, oh, we can just guarantee ourselves this top 5 pick, So it's really rough. But yeah, I mean, changes are coming. Like, I think personally that Quinn's gonna get fired at the bye. I personally wouldn't let any of these next 2 games, like, unless he starts to author some sort of miraculous comeback. They beat both the Rams and the Seahawks and like look good doing it. The defense makes a huge turnaround, and it's like, okay, like then it's like, well, all right, like we're technically not out of the playoffs yet. We're at 3-5. We could theoretically go on some sort of miraculous run and still make the playoffs. Okay, but like, it's not going to happen. But if he wins the next 2 games going into the bye, I guess you could tell yourself a story where there's like a 1% chance it works out, and then, maybe it's one of the most miraculous Super Bowl runs of all time, right? But that's not going to happen, and I think we all realize that. I think we all know that the chances of him winning even these next 2 games are remote at best. I mean, they've been awful on defense. They've scored 32 and 33 points respectively the last 2 weeks, and they still lost. I don't think you can expect this offense to do more than that.
Our first game out of the bye week is at New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Or is it something else?
Yeah, it's out of their bye week as well.
Yeah, so we're not going to win that. We always struggle in New Orleans, so it doesn't even matter. Drew Brees will probably be back. So we're realistically looking at going 0-3 the next, 3 games. Like that's. I mean, I don't know. I think he's going to be fired during the bye week. I don't know how else you just keep letting him go unless it is like, we're just, keeping him in power basically because we know we're going to tank, basically.
Yeah.
I think the problem with the whole Quinn thing is it'd be one thing if the defense was what was standing out and the offense looked like garbage. But the offense has, put points on the board over these last couple games. The second he decided to grab reins of the defense again, he put it on his shoulders. It was like all or nothing. If the defense stood out and stuff, it'd be like, okay, well, he's got the defense going. He's a defensive coach, and the defense sucks. Like, what is he here for exactly?
He made himself the DC. Exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, he pretty much did it to himself, I think. But, I do like him, though.
Yeah, as a person, sure. Yeah, I mean, it does suck.
Yeah.
While I'll never go in just admitting defeat before a Saints game just because it's a rivalry game and you never know what'll happen, has Dan Quinn ever won after a bye week?
I'm not sure. Honestly.
Legitimate, has he won one single game after the bye? Because the bye week you get right and you come out of it and you're supposed to be better.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly remarkable how bad he's been coming off of buys. You should be more prepared and more set up, and maybe this is just a symptom of the fact that he does not prepare well for opponents.
His first season was 2015, right?
Yeah, 2015. Yes. That's when we started off 5-0, and then I don't remember what happened the rest of the season because the rest of the season was a blur. The rest of the season didn't happen in 2015 after week 5.
We lost to the Colts in 2015.
We lost to Matt Hasselbeck in 2015.
That's right, Matt Hasselbeck. It was that game.
So you're right for 2015.
2016 is the one you think, but we started off 7-5 in 2016.
Yeah.
We weren't just killing it.
No, we weren't.
Oh, we beat the Cardinals.
Okay, so the Cardinals. Yep.
Oh, the Cardinals.
Yeah, of course.
2017, we lost to the Dolphins after their head coach was snorting coke in the locker
Yes.
room.
Maybe Quinn should start doing that. Maybe that would help the defense. I don't know. Whatever makes it work, man. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah, you're right. We lost the Dolphins.
And the thing about it is, what I'm hoping is that Dan Quinn is gone at the bye week. I guess Dirk Cutter takes over. Teams normally have a tendency after a midseason coaching change to really have a good game immediately, right from the start. So I'm kind of hoping that happens with us, where Dirk Cutter takes over and we just have an incredible game against the Saints. Because the rest of the season I don't really care for because we're toast. Yeah. But I would like to beat the Saints at least once, if not both times. That first game is in New Orleans, and you win that, you play them at home on Thanksgiving. That'll be our Super Bowl. Thanksgiving game is our Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. It would be really sad, if the Falcons, drop to 1-7, Quinn gets fired at the bye week, Cutter, Raheem Morris, whoever takes over, and whoever the new DC is implements a really simple defensive scheme, and they just win the rest of their games, go 9-7. It's just oh wait, this was what this team was supposed to be, just to rub it in our face.
There's an actual possibility of that happening.
Oh yeah, Jerome Henderson takes over, installs a man cover one heavy scheme, and they just start rocking teams or something. Grady Jarrett has 12 sacks, Takk McKinley has double-digit sacks in the second half of the year.
Vic Beasley has double-digit sacks.
Oh God, yeah, Vic Beasley, exactly, yeah. Vic Beasley's going to get, up to 5 sacks. They'll be like, well, he could still be salvaged,
God, I didn't even, consider that possibility, to be honest. I just assumed, all right, 4 or 5 wins, but, yeah, let's keep Quinn.
Yeah, just to be safe. To be absolutely safe.
Just to be safe. Dan, keep running whatever you're running. Soft zone, prevent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It'll be 4th and inches. Line Isaiah Oliver up 7 yards away from the wide receiver.
Yeah,
we got
exactly. This. I hope you guys saw that tweet I did where I showed the 4th and 1 where Isaiah Oliver was lined up 5 yards off on 4th and 1, and just T.Y. Hilton just kind of did a little in route, and just Oliver didn't even get a chance to get his hands on him before he had the ball. I mean, it was just so stupid. what the hell are you doing, man? Like, it's 4th and 1. Like, how are you not like? I don't care if you're not a press man defense. You're gonna press on 4th and 1. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, you can't just not do that. And they're like, oh, okay, free release, and you give me a 5-yard cushion on 4th and 1. All right, easy. Let's go. You know, like, it's just so silly where we've ended up. But on the topic of the defense, I did want to talk about some personnel changes that I think could help, and then I'm obviously open to your guys' input as well. You know, for me, Devondre Campbell, as much as I love him on the field, like I love his persona, his hair is amazing, and like I just really liked him as a player, but like he's fallen off a cliff this year. His coverage grade is among like the worst in the NFL in terms of linebackers, and he had the team's worst defense in PFF score last week, 29.5, which is like, I didn't know you could have a score that low, to be honest. Like, I've never heard of a player having a 29.5 score on, like, 60-plus snaps. That's exactly what happened. I mean, he was abysmal, like, below bad. Like, meanwhile...
Even Vic Beasley had, like, a 46.
Exactly. Like, I didn't even know it went that low, for being totally honest with you. And it was all from coverage. Like, his tackling grade was okay. His run defense grade was okay. His coverage was so bad that it pulled his grade down into, like, the 20s. And meanwhile, Foyesade Oluokun, who we saw start last year and look like an average to above average starter, had a 90.6 grade on his like 10 snaps. Like, he had an elite grade, mostly from coverage, which is ironic because that was what dragged Campbell down. So like, I don't know why Oluokun is not playing. Like, we know he can start. We saw him start basically all of last season, and he's not on the field. So that's one. And then Kamal Ishmael, like, I got to give my UCF boy some love. Like, you know, he's a good tackler. That's it. He's a good tackler. And he's now been victimized, like, the last 2 weeks by teams that know he can't cover for shit. Because he can't. He's slow as hell. And he can tackle, but if he can't get his hands on you because he's out of position or he gets blasted by somebody who's actually athletic, he's not, you know, that's why he's a backup. And so he had the second worst grade on the defense this week. It was only a little bit better than Campbell's. I think he was in the 30s. So what the hell is the problem with Sherrod Niesman? Like, this is the second year in a row where Sherrod Niesman has been on the roster. They actively traded for someone else to start ahead of Sherrod Niesman. Then that person, you know, in the case of 2018 was Jordan Richards, who was god-awful. They played him for 6 goddamn weeks before they gave Sherrod Niesman a chance. And then this year they trade for Cyprian. He gets hurt immediately. And they're still going to Ishmael, who's been a train wreck before Sherrod Niesman, who we saw start and look like a solid starter basically half of last season. So can anyone explain to me what is going on? Like, why the hell is Sherrod Niesman not getting any chance to start? Like, why is he getting no snaps? Why are we going out of our way to make sure he doesn't play? Like, it's the most bizarre thing to me.
Because Dan Quinn is too proud to admit that he's wrong, the same way he did with Jordan Richards last year. For some reason, he's dying on the Kamal Ishmael hill this year. What a hill to die on, you know, dying on the Vic Beasley hill. There's a reason why Vic Beasley is still on this team. That's because Dan Quinn invested a top 10 pick in him. And one of the most important things as a head coach and as a leader in general is recognizing when you're wrong and moving past it, you know, fixing that mistake as soon as possible, nipping it in the bud, and then moving past it. But Dan Quinn hasn't been able to do that. And with Devondre Campbell, the same there too. Like, Campbell needs to be on the bench at this point. He's unplayable. He's absolutely garbage out there. And I remember he was talking about last season about, you know, how he was better than Anthony Barr on Twitter and whatnot. I'd much rather have Anthony Barr on my team than Devondre Campbell. I'd rather have no one playing out there than Devondre Campbell because it's about the same thing. And it would look a lot cooler. It would be a lot more understandable if this defense was giving up so many yards with 10 players instead of 11 because Campbell's a 0. But, you know, keep tweeting at fans, though. You know, you got it.
Well, yeah. First of all, like, don't tweet at players, okay? That's a dick move. Like, don't tweet at players. That's not cool. But even if they suck. Like, even if they're having a really bad year, just don't tweet at them. But also, don't respond
you're
to
right,
people.
But also, like, why are you reacting?
Yeah, exactly.
People?
Exactly. That's the other side of the coin. Is that's only going to make it worse. Like, don't feed the trolls, Campbell. Okay? Like, don't feed the trolls. But like the weird thing to me is like you had like if Campbell was literally the only linebacker they had and the rest were like UDFAs and they were terrible, it would be like one thing. It's like, okay, there's no one else here that's gonna help, so we might as well just hope that he gets better. But like we have two guys that are like ready to step in that we know that are both promising. Like Oluokun we saw start last year and was good. Why isn't he playing? Jermaine Grace looked great in preseason. Why not give him a shot? You're 1-5. Who the hell cares, right? Like, it's not like it can get any worse. Like, you're already the 31st defense in the NFL. Like, it can't get any worse, man. Like, and then with Neesman, like, if you didn't want to play him, if you don't like him, why is he on your roster? Why are you rostering this guy if you're gonna trade for someone before you give him a chance to start? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. It blows my mind. Like, I think you're right though, Non. Like, I think it's like a Quinn thing. Like, maybe Neesman is, like an asshole in meetings. Like, hey, these guys suck. You should probably play me. And like, honestly, like, I don't know what you expect. Like, he's been better than all these guys, and he's right. So, but maybe Quinn doesn't appreciate that, and he's like, well, you're gonna ride the bench because I said so. Or maybe Neesman is a bad practice player but plays well in games. I mean, we've seen that before. And at this point, like, we've seen no changes except at corner. They finally made some changes. They let Kendall Sheffield play because Trufant was out. That was by necessity. They had to play somebody else. Bleedy Ray and Trufant are out, so of course they finally give Sheffield some opportunities. And guess what? He was like the third highest rated player on the defense. He had like a 77 or something. Where the hell's Jordan Miller? He's basically Isaiah Oliver. So why not give him a chance just to see? Like, you're 1-5. I guess. Maybe it is that Quinn thinks the season can be salvaged, and they just have to keep doing the same thing, and eventually it's going to work. And so if we make personnel changes, that's going to doom us. But I don't know. I don't really have any more words about that. I'm just pissed off. I'll let you guys talk a little bit.
Another guy I just want to mention who hasn't. I don't think he's been active all season's. Deandrin's not. It's like he just. I don't know what's going on with that. He looked good in a couple of the preseason games, but just like in the doghouse completely, I don't think we've seen him once suit up, have we?
No, I don't think he's ever been active.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And then, my boy Jack Crawford's like playing more special teams, and he was like pretty much the second best, defensive lineman last year.
Yeah.
Outside of like Grady, obviously, and he's like rarely on the field. I think he had like 17 snaps or something. It's a totally different. It seems like totally different personnel switch we have than last year. Not that last year was better, and obviously we did have a lot more injuries and stuff. But
right. But the funny thing was, like, last year's defense was better. Like, legitimately, like last year's defense was better than this year.
It's weird
with the injuries.
That's why, like, last year we had an excuse. Like, when they sucked, we at least were like, well, we don't have Ricardo Allen, we don't have Keanu Neal, Deion Jones ain't back, Grady, he got banged up a little bit. This year it's like, we sucked before Keanu Neal went down, so like we don't have any excuses.
Yeah, it just blows my mind. Like, last year they were injured legitimately, and like I think it wasn't a hot take to say they lost so many key players that the defense there was no way it could work. I think that was totally reasonable. And then this year they've lost one guy, and they're way worse than last year. So it's not the injuries. It has to be the scheme, because we've seen these players. We've seen worse talent look better than this. Like in 2016, they didn't have the talent they have right now, and they were at least functional in the last couple games of the season once Quinn took over. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems
but
like
also in 2016, what we were kind of ignoring coming into this season is the fact that the offense was just so good that the opposing team was always playing from behind.
Yeah.
Could never really run the ball, and you knew they were going to pass it. You forced them. Kyle Shanahan made them one dimensional, and you can't really expect that out of the offense just because that offense was historic, where you make them one dimensional every game. But at the very least, you can expect them not to be down by 3 possessions in the second quarter every game. It's like clockwork, where you're down by at least 17 in the second quarter every single game.
I believe it's each of the last 4 games they've been down by double digits at some point.
Yeah, like I know after that Eagles game, it was the Colts, the Titans, the Texans, and this last one. So each of the last 4 games, I think they were down by at least
At least 10.
At least 17 at one point in the game. And I mean, that's not a recipe for success. Then the opposing team can just run the ball. And what are you going to do now? Like, they're just running it down your throat. They're completely balanced, and you're the one that has to pass over and over again.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the run defense is, like, the only good part of the defense this year. Like, on a yards per carry basis, the run defense is, like, good. Like, they've been legitimately good. Even with teams running, like, 30-plus times a game against them, they've maintained a pretty solid yards per carry. So it's, like, that aspect of the defense has been good, but, like, now it's like they can't get them even to run the ball. Like, it doesn't matter because every time they pass, they can get, like, 9 yards per attempt. I mean, freaking Deshaun Watson had, like, 13 yards per attempt against this defense. I mean, I don't know. It just blows my mind. Like, how did we get here? You know, like, this defense, the talent isn't the issue. Like, I know it's easy to be like, oh, well, certain players are not playing well, and that's absolutely true. Like we just talked about too. Devondre Campbell having an atrocious bad season. He's had good seasons in the past, but like they have the guys there to sub in for him if he's struggling, and they won't. So that's a big problem. That's a schematic problem. That's a personnel usage problem. Coaching. Again, we point back to that. And with Kamal, it's like Kamal's a backup. Like so the fact that he's bad, that we put 2 strong safeties on IR. They traded for Jonathan Cyprien. Whatever you think of him. Jonathan Cyprien is basically Kamal Ishmael, so I don't think that would have moved the needle, but they still traded for him. That was an attempt. He's gone. We don't know what he could have done, I guess. All we saw was him look completely lost on one play in coverage and take a terrible angle, and, so the minimal returns were not good, but whatever. And then Kamal Ishmael's out there, a backup, someone they had to convert to linebacker because his coverage limitations. They convert him back to safety, which, questionable decision to start with. And then they continue to start him at safety for, I believe he played every defensive snap against the Cardinals and got roasted repeatedly. And Sherrod Eastman still can't get a snap. I don't think he got a single snap on defense. And it's, what the hell are we doing here? Like, this is NFL. This is the NFL, okay? We need to have coaches that are willing to, like, sub players at least. Like, goddamn, if you see Kamal Ishmael getting roasted, like, help the man. Take him off the field, for God's sake, before he, like, loses all of his confidence,
Yeah, no, Kevin, the only players who are willing to sub in and out are Julio Jones and Grady Jarrett. Nobody else.
Yeah.
Nobody else.
Julio Jones can play, like, 70% of snaps, and, At least Cutter has started. I feel like Cutter read that article, because the second I posted that freaking article, we saw Julio Sanu and Ridley more often. We saw them run out of 11 personnel more. The percentage of snaps for all those guys went up. So, like, Cutter, at least you're, like, taking a step in the right direction. Like, it seems like Quinn has the exact opposite response to every decision that he should be doing. Like, when your coverage is sucking, what should you do? Should you put more people in coverage, or should you try to get to the quarterback by any means necessary? I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I would just try to blitz or do something, anything to get the quarterback off their spot and disrupt throws. But if it's Quinn, it's like, let's drop 8. You know what? Let's drop 9. We'll drop one of our defensive linemen, too.
Let's drop every single one of them.
11 guys in coverage. They'll never see it coming, I don't know, man. It just blows my mind. Like, I can't believe that us
not halfway yet.
We're just a bunch of guys on the internet. I think we all have a pretty solid football knowledge, but I can't speak for everyone, but none of us have ever coached football. Like, I think we all, think that we have a good working knowledge, but like I don't know anything about defensive schemes or calling plays in games, and like it seems like this is basic stuff. Like I feel like youth coaches can do these things.
Well, like Dan Quinn is much smarter than we are when it comes to football in general. Like he's a lifer, he's been around it, but it's like it's just not adding up to where he's just not doing this stuff, and it's just like it feels like it's basic. And I'm not going to be here just saying that he's dumb or anything. Like he has you have to have a genius level IQ to be a head coach in the National Football League when it comes to the game of football. And it's just not happening. He's just not exhibiting that right now. And we know that like he's better than this, but it doesn't matter because he's not showing it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess to me, to me, this is what happens when you become afraid for your job. Like it's like a slippery slope. Like you're afraid, and that reflects in what everything that you do. It reflects in your coaching style. You know, Quinn has never been a coach that's like been overly passive. Like the Seattle Legion of Boom defense was known for playing their corners very aggressively. They were only going to rush 4 the most of the time, but they were going to have 4 ferocious pass rushers, and they were almost never going to deviate from that. You know, they would do the occasional corner blitz and that sort of thing, but you know, they were going to rush 4. They were going to have a great 4, and then they were going to play their corners aggressively at the line of scrimmage, and then play cover 3 the rest of the way, just zone the rest of the way. And it seems like instead of leaning towards that, Quinn's almost abandoned his own scheme to go to now 3 pass rushers to some sort of 3-4 defense, which he's never run before, and then to play his corners like they're playing pure zone, like 5 to 8 yards off, like not contesting any throws. Like the cover 3 doesn't work. Like the Seattle defense doesn't work unless you're pressing. Like if you're giving free releases and free catches all the time, if there's no risk for those short throws, then what's the point of the defense? Like you have to contest the throw at least. You can't just give up free throws all the time. Like this is the goddamn NFL. Like even the worst quarterbacks in the league are going to take advantage of you. Like Marcus Mariota got benched this week. He had a career day against the Falcons. 3 touchdowns, easy money. I mean, the Falcons probably bought Mariota 2 weeks by themselves. I mean, it's just basic stuff.
And I can't tell you how much I despise rushing 3.
Yeah.
Like in the NFL, in today's NFL, if you rush 3, you're guaranteed to give the quarterback 5 to 6 seconds, and quarterbacks are good enough in the league today where they will pick you apart if you give them that much time. Maybe if you had Aaron Donald in the middle, and then you had Khalil Mack and Von Miller or J.J. Watt off the edges, then go ahead and rush 3, because you have to double team all 3 of those guys. But because of the fact that we don't have those 3 guys on our team, no team should be just straight up rushing 3 the way they are. In today's NFL, rushing 3 needs to go extinct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rushing 3, I mean, it's bad, yeah. I want to give you a chance to talk, Evan, because I feel like I've been talking a ton. So I don't know if you have any takes about...
Oh, no, you're fine. Just to add on what he's saying is, that one, he referenced it earlier in the show, somebody was arguing with me about it, but I despise rushing 3, unless you have like Khalil Mack or whatever, like 3 of him, that would work. But it's like, you saw what happened on that play, and it's easy to look in hindsight, but I think it's a perfect example where we only rushed 3 and Kyler Murray was able to run out of what should have been a sack opportunity. And I think he hit Fitzgerald for a first down or something. But then you look at, okay, where were the other guys? We had, I'm not sure if it was Oliver up top, but I think it was like Foy and Davison just standing around in the middle towards the top of the field. And it was like, that would have been nice to have one of them, rushing the passer. It's just like, why are we dropping Davison into coverage when for one, he's not near anybody. He was literally just standing around. That's pretty much what was happening. And even if he was guarding somebody, what was he going to do? He couldn't chase him down. He's like 300 and something pounds. It's just like, it's stupid. I don't understand it. Maybe if you're actually, you know what? I don't understand it. There's no really.
Well, it's like, imagine if like what you just said, like with Tyler Davison and Foye, and they clearly left those 2 guys in to cover like the short zones. Like an infinitely better play would have been to rush Davison because he's lined up on the line of scrimmage, and then blitz blitz Foye. Like let Foye try to get home on a blitz. That's way better than just standing in the middle of the field and looking stupid when Kyler Murray runs for the first down. It's just like, it seems like Quinn is having the opposite response that he should be having. Like when the secondary is struggling, he's sending less pressure and trying to put more guys back there. Like that's going to fix the communication issues or something. And you can have 12 guys back there. You can have 13. I don't care. Like if they are not understanding the coverage scheme, which it appears they don't. Even the veterans aren't understanding it. Like Ricardo looks lost sometimes. Like why are we making these huge changes to our coverage scheme? Why are we making things so complicated when this whole scheme is supposed to be We play simple coverage, we press, and we rush forward. Like, why are we not doing that anymore? Why is that? Why was that the problem? It wasn't. It worked against the Eagles, for God's sake. That was the only good defensive game of the year against the Eagles, where they blitz, they play aggressive, they press, and then they stop doing it. Like, I just don't get it. Like, you had your best game of the year, so you scrap it? Like, what was the thought process behind that?
You know that when they only rushed 3, like for that play in specific, if you go back and look at it, it was to where we could potentially get like a safety out of it or something, where it'd be different if it was like in the red zone and you're dropping them into the end zone just to have a body there in case something gets thrown at the goal line. I don't understand it when you're on their side of the field where you could potentially get a safety or something, or like a fumble or something. It just doesn't make any sense with how much field separation you still have. It's stupid in general. I mean, I'd understand it slightly more if it was on the other side of the field, even though I'd still say it was stupid. Especially with Davison being the guy doing it. I just don't get it.
I think Dan Quinn is coaching scared right now. Like, he's coaching not to get beat, not to lose, instead of coaching to win and like taking a risk. I think the fact against Philadelphia, the fact that their top wide receivers got hurt early on, that played a role in us like pressing and us getting like up on those wide receivers, because their wide receivers couldn't really get any separation anyway because they were all like second and third stringers, and when Aguilar didn't get separation, he dropped the game-winning catch. But like then when you play the Colts, you're scared of T.Y. Hilton. When you play the Texans, they were terrified of DeAndre Hopkins to the point where they were putting the entire secondary on him and leaving Will Fuller wide open to beat you, as if Will Fuller isn't, a very good, very talented player who's just been struggling with injuries over the past few years. It's just like you're playing so scared right now by just like leaving those players off of them, like giving so much cushion. And I said it before after that Titans game, it doesn't matter if you give up an 80-yard touchdown on one play or if you give up 80 yards on a 5-minute drive.
Right.
Like 80 yards is 80 yards. A touchdown is a touchdown. And in some cases, you know what? I'd rather give up the explosive play. And
exactly. I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Than like just have them drain 5 or 6 minutes off the clock.
Yeah. No, but that's exactly right. Like, that's part of the problem with Quinn's scheme is like if you can't get stops, this scheme lends itself to these like 20-play scoring drives where you're giving up free passes underneath every single play. They're just dinking and dunking all the way down the field, and it's like an 8-minute drive, and you're giving your offense no opportunities. Like I can't remember what game it was. I think it was the Titans game. The Falcons had like 4 possessions the whole game that weren't like end of half or whatever. Like the Titans just controlled everything. And it was
Derrick Henry ran it like 27 times.
Yeah,
or something.
And the sad part was they held him to like 3.8 yards a carry or something. Like they held Derrick Henry basically in check, and it doesn't matter because you score 10 points, and then the games after that you score 32 and 33 and you still lose because the defense is just hot ass garbage, as Gina Thomas would like to say. It just blows my mind. And look, you guys as fans, us as fans, we deserve better with this talent. We do. Like, we all deserve better. The city of Atlanta deserves better than what we're seeing. And that's why he has to go, just straight up. Like, you can't squander this level of talent and not get fired. Like, I mean, I don't care who you are. Like, even if he had won a Super Bowl in 2016, like, we would be calling for his head after a performance like this, right? I mean, obviously, if you win a Super Bowl, you get a lot of goodwill, but, like, I don't know.
Look up in Philadelphia. Some of them are calling for Doug Peterson's head, and they're 3-3 right now.
Yeah. I mean,
and he won a Super Bowl in 2017.
Right.
Like a year after when we were in it. And he made the playoffs last year.
Yeah. And
made the divisional round last year.
Right. So, I mean, they're not really justified. Like, if you make the playoffs the year before, you're 3-3. You should probably calm down. That's probably a little aggressive.
Plus, he won them a Super Bowl.
Yeah. That's a little aggressive. But, like
Dan Quinn won that Super Bowl, I think we'd all be a little
definitely
less panicky.
Yeah.
No,
but
I'd still be calling for his head, but it wouldn't, in the exact same scenarios, but it wouldn't hurt as much especially considering the fact that we, blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. I would have rather not even played in that Super Bowl.
Yeah,
than,
that would have been better.
That
That would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah, would have rather lost by like a field goal with the Packers in the NFC title game.
Right.
But
I did enjoy the hell out of that Packers game, though. That was great.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was my birthday too. Yeah.
That was the last bit of happiness I had.
That was
in my
the
life.
final bit. Yep.
Yeah, it was all downhill from there. But it's like the fact that happened magnifies it. Whether it's fair or not, the fact that we were so close and didn't get it done, that raises expectations even more than had we not been in that game in the first place or had we won that game. It just does. Just because we were humiliated, like, as a franchise and as a fan base, and now we need to go back and win it to, like, get that taste out of our mouths, and it's not happening. And all that's happened this year is we're getting embarrassed even more by this coaching and this defense.
Yeah, and Dr. Dicharati, I just got to call you out here, saying that there's no talent on the defense, that no players would start on any other NFC South team. Grady Jarrett would start on for the Saints and the Bucks, and maybe even the Panthers. The Panthers have a great defensive tackle duo, especially since Kawan Short's hurt. But that's they have Kawan Short and
Deion Jones would start on every one of them.
Deion Jones is absolutely better than anybody on the New Orleans Saints at linebacker and in Tampa Bay. And honestly, he would be the second best linebacker. He'd probably start over Shaq Thompson in Carolina as well. Trufant would be the second best corner on the Saints and probably the best corner on the Bucks. The Panthers, I think he would still be one of their top three corners easily. Let's see, who else? There's more. No, there's more. But
I mean, if you're talking about free safety, maybe Casey.
Yeah, I think we'll see Casey at free safety at the end before the season is over. And I think that's just where he needs to play, and maybe we'll see him look a little more comfortable at corner towards the end of the season. But it's tough to go from corner to safety to back to corner now, changing every single season. That's rough on a player, and especially when everything's falling apart around you. It's just so we'll probably see Casey back at free safety, but he led the league in interceptions last year. He was a great free safety. I think he could definitely start on some teams at free safety. They have guys. They have guys back there. I wouldn't say it's an elite, talented defense at this point. But to say that there's no talent, there's at least three guys. Yeah. Trufant would definitely look better on another defense. I guarantee you. It's not Trufant's problem what's going on. Trufant got burned by Will Fuller. Sure. Will Fuller's insanely fast. He runs like a 4.3. It's going to happen. Even the best corners get toasted. What, you don't remember Jalen Ramsey getting toasted? He's gotten toasted, 2 or 3 times this season? It happens.
Every single cornerback gets toasted. You're facing professional wide receivers in this league. You're facing the best athletes on the play. It'll happen.
Yeah.
It just will. It's the law of averages. No corner is going to go out there and just be shut down every single play.
Yeah.
You remember Darrelle Revis in his prime, one of maybe a top 5 corner of all time, how he got burned by Randy Moss on that one-handed catch.
Yeah. Now Randy Moss is one of the GOATs, so
yeah,
but who blames Revis for that, right?
Yeah, nobody blames Revis for that, even though he got clowned for a while after it. But this wasn't Minnesota Randy Moss. It was still very good New England Patriots Randy Moss, but it wasn't Moss at his apex prime or apex peak.
Yeah. So it's not that there's no talent. I think we could all agree that we maybe overrated the talent.
I definitely overrated the coaching, I'll tell you.
Well, yeah, I think it's honestly hard to evaluate because the scheme is so god-awful, I just honestly don't know if we're getting an accurate portrayal of any of the talent. I think we've clearly seen that Devondre Campbell and Kamal Ishmael have serious issues in coverage. I think that's legit. But everywhere else, they've made a point of misusing Oliver's talents. Every time we've talked about Oliver, what do we say? He's our matchup corner. He's the guy that we've lacked that can match up with the Mike Evanses and the Alshon Jeffries and those types of guys. He's not the guy you put on Will Fuller. like 20 snaps a game. He's not the guy you put on their speedster, which is what Quinn has done. He just doesn't care. He just leaves Oliver out there to get roasted by the fastest receiver every week, and it's like even more of indictment right there. Like if you're going to draft a matchup corner like Oliver to play on these big receivers, don't hang him out to dry every single week, man. Like do something to help your players out. Like don't be stubborn like, oh, we're going to play sides. Oliver's playing on the right side. I don't care who they line up because we're playing sides. Like, it's 2019. Nobody plays sides anymore, Dan Quinn. Like, nobody does that shit anymore. Like, if you play sides, you're going to get roasted every week because opposing offensive coordinators aren't so stubborn. They're going to make their receivers line up on different parts of the field because guess what? Like, if you're going up against a rigid defensive coordinator that's like, well, my guys are going to play right side and left side, and I don't care what you're going to do. You're going to get roasted every week because they're going to find the matchup that works. So you have to adapt, and maybe that's the crux of it, is that Dan Quinn can't adapt. Maybe that's what the secret is. Maybe that's the secret sauce that he's lacking, is the ability to adapt his scheme to fit a changing NFL, and it's not working. I don't know. But all I know is it's bad. It's real bad, and Dan Quinn's going to get fired for it. T-minus 2 weeks on the Dan Quinn death clock, so... it's rough out there, folks.
Won't that be fitting against the team? That
he can go home with Pete Carroll, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you can just go to the Seahawks locker room after that game.
Yeah. It's rough. Like, it's rough for you guys as fans. I know it's rough for us to have to cover the team, but I know it's rough for you guys too, and it's not probably going to get any better this year. I'm sad to say. It just seems like they've...
What do you guys think about Dimitroff? Because a lot of people, Dan Quinn's always mentioned, but nobody ever really brings up, is Dimitroff safe, you think? Or you think he's got to go with him? Or...
I'd want him to go with him, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, yeah.
You can't really survive two head coaching changes unless you're a really elite general manager, and he's not that. I'm here for a fresh voice, in the front office and the locker room.
Yeah.
I just want a completely fresh start when it comes to that side of football operations.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. I wouldn't necessarily be shocked if Dimitroff stayed to keep some sort of continuity, but at the end of the day, I agree. I think Dimitroff's an above average GM. He's going to get another job somewhere if he gets fired by the Falcons, and he should. I don't think Dimitroff is really the issue with this team, but Dimitroff's Achilles heel has been finding pass rushers and finding head coaches. And it's I don't think either of his head coaching hires have been awful, but they haven't been the people to fix this team, and it doesn't seem like he can rein them in. And I think part of the problem is DQ seems to have the power right now. If Dimitroff was the one that decided to bring Dirk Cutter back as the offensive coordinator, then he should definitely be fired, because going to a retread offensive coordinator, firing a promising guy in Sark who had his issues certainly, but wasn't bad by any means, to go back to an old school offensive coordinator, Dirk Cutter, that wasn't good enough for you before.
You can even go further back. When Kyle Shanahan left, instead of hiring Matt LaFleur as your offensive coordinator and really keeping that scheme intact, you let him go to hire Sark, who has no NFL experience.
Yeah, and to be fair, Sark obviously sucked that first year. That was not ideal at all. The second year he looked better. I think he showed some potential. And I remember on this show we talked about we should probably keep him unless they're going to be able to get someone better like Gary Kubiak, and they go out and get freaking Dirk Cutter. So let's just run it back to 2012, and that didn't result in a Super Bowl either. So what's the upside with that hire? And I agree with you, Adnan, about the Matt LaFleur thing. We had an opportunity to keep the same offensive system exactly, to just promote one of his disciples, and they chose not to do that. They chose to basically clean house of Shanahan's staff, to just let them all leave. And I wonder if that in some ways was Quinn, feeling that Shanahan had stolen his thunder. A lot of people felt Shanahan was responsible for the team, not Quinn.
He was.
It seems clear now that he was, but
100% clear.
But
I'd rather have Kyle Shanahan as the head coach than Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one. And it's nobody wants to think of coaches as being this petty and like this egomaniacal necessarily, but I think this is a legit possibility that this is what happened. Like that Quinn wanted to purge Shanahan from the team to make sure that everyone knew that this was his team. And, it blew up right in his face. They lost the spark on offense, and they've never been able to recover. I mean, 2017, they were competitive, certainly, but they weren't what they were before. It's rough. It's rough. I don't really know what to say. I'm ranting a lot. We got a lot of feelings to get out about this team, folks. So, but yeah, I don't know where you go from here. I mean, I know you fire Quinn and you start over, but the good news, I guess, is that this team could be competing for a top 5 pick and could be in the running for one of the top head coaching candidates, whether that's someone from college like Lincoln Riley or one of the top coaching names like Eric Bieniemy. I mean, whatever, man. Get me an offensive coach, though. No more of this defensive crap, because that's certainly
we're gonna hire
hasn't
Mike
worked.
Smith again.
Hell yeah, baby! All retreads all the time.
Mike Smith. The Falcons are soft. The Falcons aren't tough.
We need to get tougher. And I need you to, I can't remember what he said when he tried to curse, and it just felt so fake. He was like, we need to all get, everybody needs to get it together. Okay, I feel like that's probably what's happening now with Dan Quinn. It's like, okay, we know who you are. It's not going to work anymore, so, yeah.
Facts don't
I just
matter,
remember his
guys.
face always getting red.
And, God bless Mike Smith. Mike Smith was the perfect transition coach to, get this team out of the gutter and, back to being solid. But they've just never been able to get past that stage of the equation. They've never been able to get past the stage of competitive but not
I just hate
great.
having to see, Matt Ryan have, constant turnovers at offensive coordinator. He doesn't have, who's the longest he had? Because he had Sark for 2. He had
Cutter was here for 3 years. Malarkey was here for I think 4.
Yeah, maybe Malarkey was the longest.
From 08
and he's still on the staff though, or he came back or whatever, right?
Yeah, but Malarkey sucked, so I wouldn't even count that.
Right. Yeah, that's
it's
part of the
every
problem.
2 years it seems like he's getting a new one, and that trend will be even worse this year if I'm assuming Cutter goes with him, which we all hope, but. It just sucks because he's obviously getting older in his career too. So it's you want to see some continuity there, and it's just want to keep,
That's why you hire the offensive coach this time, and you just, for better or worse, you tie him to that guy for the next 3 years, and you're going to see what happens. And just please, for the love of God, go after a modern offensive mind. We've seen what this offense can do with someone who actually knows what the hell they're doing. And, just get back to that, please. I don't... Take a risk, for God's sake. You don't have to hire a safe coach. Swing for the fences, man. If you mess up, we'll understand. If you go for Lincoln Riley and Lincoln Riley just can't cut it in the NFL and his scheme doesn't work here, then at least the upside was there for that hire, right? The potential was there for this transcendent offense that incorporates the best of college and the NFL and it really takes this team to the future. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay, at least you tried. It was the right decision even if the outcome wasn't what you hoped.
We're gonna hire Mike McCarthy.
God, we can have 3 shows just dedicated to ripping Mike McCarthy and this team if that happens. But
just for funds, what do you think the trade value would be for Kyle Shanahan?
I mean, I don't care. Whatever you want.
It kind of sucks that the 49ers are good, but
take
we'd be
all
buying high, but
you can take our entire 2020 class. Just give us. Kyle
Shanahan. Just to be stupid and go down the rabbit hole here, if we have a top 5 pick, that probably still wouldn't be enough, would it?
No, we'd probably trade next year's first as well. They're not going to trade him. I mean, they wouldn't consider trading him. I don't think under any circumstances, but it would be funny, certainly. I know someone asked about our top 3 draft needs, so I guess we can do a hashtag draft takes short segment here to close things out. And for me, they would be edge rusher would be the top one. Carried over from last year, we could have had goddamn Brian Burns, who's lighting it up. No offense to Chris Lindstrom either. I like Lindstrom. I still think he's going to be an important piece for this team, but I would have rather had Brian Burns at 14 and then spent that, late round pick on an offensive lineman and like that 31st pick on an offensive lineman, whoever that would be. And I guess number 2 would probably be corner now because, we're probably needing another corner here. And number 3 would be center. We need to get someone in here to start grooming for Alex Mack because I have no idea how long that's going to last. Maybe 2 years at best. So that would be my top 3. Would be edge, corner / safety, and then center. But what do you guys think?
Edge 1, 2. I want a linebacker.
Yeah.
Because next year Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun are going to be our main starting linebackers, and I mean, definitely, I think that's a need that they were going to be looking at anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to completely give up on Isaiah Oliver yet.
Me neither. Yeah.
I'm not. But one thing, and it needs to be addressed. Possibly strong safety because Keanu Neal, I hope he comes back and is 100%, but he just suffered a torn ACL and a torn Achilles in back years. I don't know how long he's going to have in the NFL, and I just wanted to deviate away. I definitely agree with center, with possibly cornerback. I just didn't want to just repeat everything you said.
Cool.
So, I'm just putting those possibilities out there, strong safety, maybe. You look at that, but yeah, unless Oliver just can show me something by the end of the year, we need cornerback will definitely be probably addressed on day 2.
Yeah. What about you, Evan? You got any takes on draft needs at this point in the season?
I don't know what else I can add.
Yeah.
You guys pretty much laid it out.
We need a new quarterback.
Tank for
no,
Tua.
I mean, but realistically, I would like to see a decent project quarterback, I guess. I mean, I know we got Banker and who else? Etling or whatever, but a realistic, because Schaub's got to be done. I mean, unless they're just keeping him around again still. I'm not saying in the first 3 rounds.
No.
But if it's 5th round, and there's something interesting there, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of time between now where it seems like there'll be quarterbacks who are ranked highly right now who drop in the draft by time April or whatever comes around.
Yeah.
I'd like to see something like that, but yeah, I mean, honestly, the first 3 picks I'd be fine if they just went all defense because I don't see a whole lot of problems on our offense that a competent offensive mind would be perfectly fine with anyways.
Yeah.
If you want to look at the offensive line, and this is assuming we, retain Austin Hooper, which needs to be done. But, I mean, aside from, I don't know what else you could add. Offensive lineman, I guess. That's you're set at receiver. I think Russell Gage deserves more playing time, and he'll, because if we move on from Sanu, which probably a lot of people expect, you're set with Julio, Calvin Ridley, and then you got Gage who could step up maybe. I don't know. So I guess you could use a late round pick on a receiver just to bolster some depth there. But yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much laid it out. So definitely an edge, Chase Young or
Yeah, Chase Young or bust.
Yeah. Espinoza out of Iowa maybe.
Yeah, he's good.
If you're looking into the interior, Derek Brown out of Auburn's a beast.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you want to go defensive tackle, but I mean him and Grady Jarrett side by side on the interior would be ravenous.
Yeah, we know Quinn couldn't ever take a defensive tackle in the first 2 rounds, so that was
but Quinn's not going to be here.
Yeah, but Quinn's going to be gone, so the possibility exists. But we'll see how that goes, and we'll definitely talk more about potential trade scenarios, particularly with the trade deadline coming up in future shows. We got to leave some of that sweet content for you guys later, but
yeah, it's already draft season. We have until what, late April? We have to spread.
We got
it
time.
Out a little bit.
We got to spread these draft picks out a bit.
It's only October.
Yeah, it's only October. Oof.
What do you guys expect from the Rams game? Just a quick little parting analysis, I guess.
I expect a loss. I think the Falcons will score a lot of points still. I think the offense is going to continue to look better, but I think the defense, is not going to have any answers. I think Jared Goff's going to have one of his best games of the season, no doubt.
I expect nobody to be in the stands for one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also say I think this could be a game where the Falcons could possibly win, but I don't think they will. I'm not going to pick them to win. I think the offense will put up like a lot of points. Matt Ryan's going to have another fantastic game, but it'll be a get-right game for Jared Goff and the offense. And start all of your Rams in fantasy football, like
Definitely.
all of them. If you have Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley maybe if he plays or not. Jared Goff, start Jared Goff definitely. Gerald Everett, start all of them. Every single one.
Everyone.
Trade for Cooper Kupp and start him this week. Like
he will save your season.
Yeah, like they will destroy us. And someone mentioned it in the chat earlier, 56-32, and that could possibly be a realistic scoreline.
Yeah, it could absolutely be a thing.
I think it'll be close up until the end because the offense will keep us in it, but Dan Quinn's defense will, get destroyed as usual.
Yep, basically. Sad state of affairs, but
yeah. But Aaron Donald will still have his day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he always has his day because he's a freak and he's the best football player on the planet, and I would trade anyone on our team other than Matt Ryan for Aaron Donald.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how I feel too. But gotta save we'll save these trade talks for next week when the Falcons are 1-6 and all hope of the playoffs has basically evaporated. So until then, guys, do want to remind you, if you haven't yet, to please like the video. That helps other folks on YouTube that haven't found the channel yet to see it. That's a big help. So if you don't mind tossing a like, that's a big help for us. And then if you're not already subscribed to this wonderful Falcons content, please do that as well. We recently hit 1,100 subscribers, I believe, this week. So thank you guys so much for contributing to that. But before we officially sign off, I do want to thank my co-hosts and give them an opportunity to talk about their stuff. So first, Adnan Ikechi's at Say Which Way on Twitter. Adnan, anything you're working on that you'd like to plug?
Every week I do a What If the Falcons Win or Lose article, and I might as well just save myself half the work and write a what happens when the Falcons lose. So check that out. And also I'm started working on something today that'll a spooky Halloween type article.
Okay.
So yeah, the season's coming for that, so be on the lookout for that in a week or two.
All right, exciting stuff. That sounds great. Also with us tonight, Mr. Evan Birchfield at the very easy to remember at Evan Birchfield on Twitter. Evan, anything that you're working on you'd like to plug?
I'll just on Friday have my fantasy preview, and then if you're on Twitter, make sure you're following the Falcoholic and me, and I do a tweet recap on Mondays. I pretty much recap the game, but I use people's funny tweets and stuff like that to help flow it along. So I appreciate both you guys having me on, and maybe we'll have some positivity to talk about next time, but probably not.
Probably not. They're gonna go and win, and then we'll be upset because now Quinn might not be fired. So it'll be mixed emotions for sure. No, I would still like them to win. That would be nice. At least against the Saints, get a couple wins.
The fan in you wants them to win, but
yeah, the realist in me, wants them to tank for, win just one for Young. But we all know that's not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. So, win 3 for Young.
Win just 3. That doesn't work so well. Fall from grace for Chase. There you go. Thanks for that one, Solaire. And you guys know me. I am Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter. I've got my usual stuff coming this week. Did a piece yesterday about some potential players the Falcons could trade and get some return for, so check that out. And then if you're not already following the Falcoholic on Twitter, definitely check that out. Follow, subscribe here on YouTube as well for all that great content. And otherwise, guys, we'll be back Sunday for the post-game show immediately after the game. I know you guys really enjoy those, so we will see how that goes. And, I don't think there's a lot of optimism, but we'll be here, rain or shine, win or loss. So we look forward to seeing you guys then. Until the post game, for Evan and Adnan and myself, have a great rest of your night and rest of your week, and we will see you Sunday for the post game action. Have a great night, folks.